All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Artificery Star Wars Unlimited podcast, episode 7 now. We've made it to 7. We were off last week, did some streaming for you guys. We're back this week to talk about everything that happened in the past 2 weeks. With me, like usual, we have Garrett, a.k.a. Zero Hour, and we have the other Nick, a.k.a. Taxter, and I, your host, am the Gandork, or Nick, aka the Gandork. Um, where do we start? Like, we start. What have you been playing lately? Like, we did some streaming last week. There's like a league going on. What have people been playing? What are you liking? I'll start with other Nick. Go.
I haven't played a whole lot outside of what we played last week. I've been busy. Have not gotten around to doing the league thing. I'm considering it, but yeah. Otherwise, I've been liking Krennic a lot, and I like what all the tools that Luke got recently with the big legendary Luke. I haven't got to play a ton of Luke in green because I was still trying to build him in yellow, but I think I've seen a lot of people shift into green command Luke with command, and I think that works pretty darn well, especially because there's the new 3/3/2 drop that came out in the last few weeks too. So just a lot of tools to make that deck just kind of stick above what it used to be before. And I like playing Luke. I honestly, you with what we have right now, you can tell that I'm a sucker for blue because I like Luke, I like Krennic, and I like Chewie. I know Chewie's not super great, but I still like him.
Let's play those control archetypes. What about you, Garrett? Have you played anything?
Krennic.
Just
He's
Krennic.
just so much fun.
Best.
He's my style. The mid range, like you don't get to do anything for 4 turns kind of deck. It's just fun. I just really like playing Krennic. His ability's great. He got more tools today that we'll talk about.
Oh yeah.
Like he's just fun.
I don't know. People still like mock me for liking Krennic on the Discord. And I'm like, you fools! He's like top 3 leaders still to me. Like, I love
like
him.
what's if there's a more controlling deck? Like, what's the best that we have? Like Luke. Luke is the only other one that's kind of there, and Luke's still kind of just like maintain board control, get big dude out, and smash. Like,
I mean,
whereas
Thrawn.
Krennic's. Yeah, I don't think Thrawn's making a lot of waves right now, though.
Not yet.
It doesn't have the
With
finishers.
what we have.
Like, yeah, no, Krennic has had the finishers if you're in blue with Dooku, and Avenger if you played it. And yeah, Luke has the finishers now. Yeah, either Luke or Chewie. Like, Thrawn doesn't have finishers for at least a slow control-y deck.
I mean, if you're gonna run Thrawn with blue, then I'd probably put Avenger in there just because it's.
Yeah.
I haven't updated it yet. Yeah, I like it more than Chimera.
Yeah, the hard
really
part.
Like.
Oh, sorry.
I like Regional Governor a lot too. Like just being able to like, if you can stop the one thing that you know is going to be the thing that helps you fall behind the game, it's just huge.
Yeah, it's a huge ass though if you're playing villain to not be in green right now. I think is the problem there.
Oh yeah. Green
like,
is carrying
not
villain
gonna play
right
Overwhelming Barrage, like Avenger or Overwhelming Barrage. Avenger, like yeah, it's just.
I mean, I run yellow Krennic, so I don't run
Double
green.
yellow, or no Krennic. Sorry,
no, Krennic. Yeah.
What does yellow Krennic get that like makes you really want to play yellow?
The yellow events, I guess, and Bosk.
Shoot first, no good to me dead, surprise strike, waylay.
I mean, I guess
they're
that's
fine. Like you get the good. Like the thing is, you really don't have good ships if you're playing Krennic in
7th
blue,
Fleet
or in
Defender,
blue or green, because you're just stuck with like I'm trying to even think what I run in Krennic. I don't run a lot of spaceships. I find other ways to deal with them because
I mean, I assume you run the TIE fighter because why not?
No,
really.
No,
it doesn't get a bonus from Krennic is a hard
That's
part.
true.
It doesn't get a bonus for Krennic, and it doesn't necessarily do enough. Like it doesn't trade into any of the hero vehicles that have 3 health, and you don't have a good way of making it trade into them either necessarily.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's like TIE fighter and Veers or bust.
Yeah, so I think you can play TIE
just
fighter with Vader or TIE fighter with Tarkin because he can pump them up.
Exactly.
The extra damage. It's hard to play it outside of those.
I mean, if you're
Um,
playing a lot of other ships, it works too. But I just like there's just not a lot there in blue and green ship wise at the cheap level. And there's like there's the one vigilance ship that's like a 2 cost 2/1 that shields another vigilance unit.
I
That's
don't like
just
that
kind of
one.
terrible.
It's just
Yeah,
kind of terrible. Has the
it's just
same
not
problem.
worth
It's
it.
still a 2/1 that can't trade with
Yeah,
any of the 2/3s.
you could play TIE Bomber or TIE Advance, not TIE
Yeah, TIE
Bomber.
Advance is
I
good.
always think that is the bomber for some reason, but it's not. Yeah,
It
TIE
looks
Advance is still
similar.
good enough.
Anyway, yeah, no, yeah, I played mostly just the games that we had, and yeah, like definitely, I think the theme of our play session last week was we were just seeing how good the Blue Hero end game is. We played quite a few games on both sides where just the end game of like here's Obi-Wan into Luke is just really tough to beat.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much value in those two cards. Feels
Until you
really good.
waylay Obi-Wan twice in a row, and then
I
you just
did do
lose.
that. But it time walk you for 3 resources for 2 rounds in a row felt
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, and then our huge debate at the end of last stream of aggro and should it exist. Garrett is a firm hater of aggro.
Is he? I thought I was just a hater.
I
Or
don't
no,
hate
Nick is.
aggro.
Sorry, yeah,
It's not me.
yeah. Taxter hates. Taxter is the hater of aggro. I'm kind
Yeah.
of a lover of aggro. Garrett, what do you think of aggro? Like, where do you
I,
fall?
I mean, I think it's fine most of the time. Like, I think the game should have enough answers for early like pushes. Um, and I think it does for the most part. It's just getting them is the hard part. Um, but I don't know. Since I'm more of a mid range kind of control player, like aggro doesn't
Yeah.
scare me that much most of the time.
That's because
They
mid
usually have
range
stuff to
is
deal.
on the better end to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine if it does. I just, in my mind, there's always just a very, very thin line between like when aggro's too strong. And it's just like, it doesn't matter what I played. I just can't beat that deck more than 20% of the time. And that just feels bad. And I'm not saying that's where we're going to end up in the end, but like, I don't like it that I don't like having huge swinging matchups in a meta, and I think aggro can often lead to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, though I think to some extent though, like your deck's not whatever deck you play, you don't want it to feel good into everything. Like I think that's probably not healthy for the meta either. So if you're like, I
Yeah,
just don't
because then
want to
that's
see
all that gets
aggro.
played.
Yeah, like if you're like I'm the control deck that the only thing I don't want to see is aggro. But I'm good against everything else. That's fine. Like that's the design pillars. At least aggro beats the like really slow control. Mid range hopefully beats aggro, and then control hopefully just beats mid range because they're too slow to stop them from getting to their tricks.
And I mean, I think at the end of the day, I like playing a slower mid range deck. Like I want to play the board and I want to gain control of the board and then win that way. I don't necessarily need to kill. Well, I just don't like usually like see as much value pushing face early because I lean towards the more controlling end of mid range. But
Mid range, yeah. I usually say that, like the big difference between like a controlling mid range and like an actual control deck is that actual control decks are usually comfortable with making plays that just stall the game that don't
yeah,
necessarily change the board
and then you're
state.
running more high end, like just
Right.
like I'm running all the capital ships and
Yep.
not a lot of other units because all I'm just trying to do is wipe your crap out a
All I
lot of
need
the
to
way.
do is get to turn 7.
Yeah.
But I don't like that feeling either because then you're also on a razor's edge of like, well, I'm not fighting for the board and with units, so I have no way of if I don't have the tools to do exactly what I need to do, or they get a good enough combo together, then you just fall behind and die.
Yeah,
I
but it's
mean, I
like one of
think
those things. What I was gonna say, we're like outmaneuver, which we'll talk about in the spoilers. Is a card that a control deck probably likes to play, but a mid range deck doesn't, because a mid
Yeah,
range deck doesn't want to just spend 3 resources to stall. Like,
that's
yeah.
what a lot of yellow kind of feels to me. Like that's kind of like where
mm,
Thrawn kind of feels too, where it's just like he's not really gaining you ground. he's like trying to stall for something. I just haven't really seen what Thrawn's stalling for yet. But that's kind of where I see that kind of same play style.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Garrett? Before I jumped in.
Um, I mean, I think with this game specifically, I mean, any game that runs sideboard stuff, you can deal with aggro with sideboards too. Like that's
Yeah.
like you might drop game one, but you'll have 10 cards to put in there, and even if it means just like early sentinels, so that they have to run into your sentinels early. Like,
Thing is, there's not necessarily good early sentinels in access to every deck right now. Like
yeah,
Villain all has cell block guard, at least as something.
I mean, if you're running blue, you get the Cloud City guard.
That's true. He's weird. He's kind of expensive for what you get, but
Yeah,
save
Cloud
you
City
some
Wingguard
damage.
has felt less great the more cards that we get. Like
Yeah,
early on, I guess you had to play him, but now you're like, he's a 2/4. He's only a 2/4. I don't care that he has Sentinel. Feels kind of bad.
I mean, my
I mean,
hope is that we'll get some kind of upgrade that gives Sentinel. Just we've seen all the kind of staples with upgrades and so far that I think we'll probably get it, but who knows what set it'll come
yeah.
out. Like it will happen eventually. And it also depends on the cost. Like if it's cheap enough, you can deal with aggro with that.
Yep.
And I'm still like the big thing that I'm kind of like that has me like more worried about aggro is just like in space right now, because it's just like when you're talking about efficient space units, aggro has them, and anyone else is either has to play the same stuff or just worse stuff. Like space is in a weird spot with what we have right now. Like for one, is taking note that there's literally no 5-drops in space right now, so that's weird. The 6-drops, we've got another one this week, are also like they're different. They're all the ones are that we've seen are different, but like their stats aren't the same as like what you're expecting in a 6-drop on ground, because we know there's not parity. But like an A-wing for 2 has the same good of stats as like what you get on ground. So like the A-wing is just straight up overstated in my opinion, and it's just hard to get around it. Like there are answers to it. There's not good answers to it at the same cost in cards, in other units. There are combos that get you there. Like you can play TIE Fighter into Tarkin and you can do it, but that's a lot.
Yeah, I think part of that problem right now is just like that issue you're having of like I can't officially deal with like these space units in Hero can like be super easily answered if we just get like one, even just one or maybe two removal cards like in the 90 cards we haven't seen. Like I don't think it takes much to
Yeah,
flip that problem
Yeah,
like
I agree.
into reasonableness.
another cheap removal thing. Another. I mean, even I just like if a villain Bright Hope, they could use that, but it's just like Bright Hope's like the only kind of like early game Sentinel ship we have
Space
right now.
Emerald.
Like the Distant Patroller is the same cost. It's available to all blue without a penalty, and
The
it's
system
just
patrol craft.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's just a patrol craft, not patroller. But yeah, it's fine. Like that'd actually probably do the job a lot of times. But
Yeah, I think probably more people play that after we talk about the Red 3 spoiler that came out this week. I think the value of System
Yeah,
Patrol Craft keeps going up. I'm just like, I don't care if it's not that big. I just need a Space Sentinel like in my deck that I can
yeah,
drop to stem the bleeding. Um Anyway, yeah, that's we went off on a tangent on what we played, but that's fine. I have the next topic for today. We had the designer chat this week. Uh on Wednesday, yesterday, from when we were recording this, where they essentially it was just like a round table with Danny, Tyler, and Jeremy, where they just talked about like some of the design philosophies behind the game. We did get some previews out of it, but I don't know if I gleaned a lot of like I don't know. There's some interesting like anecdotes that they shared, but I don't know if there was a lot of information that we hadn't heard before in some way or another. Does anybody
yeah.
else have any other insight they want to share about it? Garrett, Nick?
nothing really specific. No.
Yeah. Nick, did you have anything
I'm
really?
trying to remember what was there was a card I think that they spoke. Oh yeah, that was the Red 3.
Yeah, we got Red 3.
I'm trying to remember if there was actually any big
They showed the
insights.
official like English version of Avenger that
I
wasn't like a weird screenshot
guess
that
the
they.
biggest insight is that Tyler doesn't know who D House is. So
Okay, that was funny. They did have the issue starting it up, and yeah, they did talk about D House's 12 Days of Christmas videos, which
I've
are
been watching those. Those are fun.
yeah, they're fun. But yeah, they're like, have I met him or something like that? Like oh, great.
Maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, like I don't know, it's an okay watch. Like if you're super invested, I don't know if there was anything in there that I would tell someone like, oh, you got to go rewatch this. But there was like some fun stuff in there.
I'm more excited for the upcoming one because they're actually going to be building their own decks. So, like last week's stream was the building. I mean, that's the other thing is we hadn't done there was also a stream last week that we hadn't
There
talked about,
was.
which was the Jeremy and Tyler playing modified starter decks, and Jeremy didn't change a whole lot, and Tyler added the new big Luke legendary unit to it and changed it to command Luke. So that was cool to see. I
I'm
like
kind of
that stream more just to see some.
I would like it more, but I was gonna say I was kind of disappointed that they didn't change the decks. Excuse me.
I wish they'd changed the Vader one more for sure. And we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see some spiciness with the next week's one because that's when they're all bringing their own decks. They're not just modifying the starters. So.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I assume Jeremy's bringing Boba because he's already said that's his favorite.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get some spice from somebody else. Maybe we'll get a new leader we haven't seen.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, they just. I think everybody was expecting them to have like some new stuff, and I was disappointed that the decks that they played felt less ingenuitive than like what the community has built and played like out of the same like spoiled cards. Like, and I know they said that like, oh hey, we're just like showing that you can like modify, starter decks to be different. I don't know if they necessarily show that they made them better. I don't know. It was weird still to me. Jeremy got his first win, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. And yeah, we already briefly talked about it, but like there is a league going on right now for the people that want to go find out where it is. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. I think it's Rebel Trader is running
Yeah.
it on
Yep.
a separate Discord, which I haven't joined, but like if you ask about it in the main community Discord, someone can point you in the right direction. So people that might be interested in that, go looking for it. And with that, let's get into some previews. We were thinking, but before you joined in, Nick, we were trying to figure out like how many previews do we have, and we actually have.
Well, this week we've had 6, I think. So that
Yeah, since the last time we talked, there's been 12. Well, we talked about the Avenger.
yeah, we talked about the
Already.
Avenger.
10 new ones to talk about is what we have today. And just go. I'm going to work from the bottom up of the DB here, which means the first one I'm going to talk about is Jyn Erso, our new leader that we got. She is the cunning heroism leader. The other one, the counterpart to Han Solo. On her leader side, she has an action to exhaust her, and you can attack with a unit. The defender gets -1 power, -0 HP for this attack. She is a rebel, and then you can flip her at 6 resources to deploy her. And her deployed side, she's got 4 power, 7 HP, and then just a blanket constant effect that while a friendly unit is attacking, the defender gets -1, -0. Garrett, give us a breakdown. What do you think of Jyn?
I think she's fun. I mean, I think she needs some more tools at the moment. But like anytime you can knock off, you can take less damage, it's worth it. Like that could be the difference of your guy staying alive for one more turn and then it forces them to go into you. It makes your sentinels better too, because you can attack with a sentinel into something and have it hopefully live, if you're playing it right. And use a sentinel to take out 2 guys, stuff like that. Like I think she's pretty good. I think her deployed side is really good, where it makes everyone better. Yeah,
If you can keep her alive, that's the real
but
trick.
I mean she's a 4/7, so like she's not squishy. It's like she'll stay alive.
I mean, she is
Hopefully.
the same size as Boba Fett, and Boba Fett comes out around earlier, which a lot of
True.
people
As
pointed out.
is everything.
I know. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett is statted like every other 6 cost, but comes in at 5.
Yeah, which they did kind of
Yeah.
explain that. I can't remember on which stream, but they're like trying to say
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, here.
that was a take I was a hard sell for me. They did say that Boba Fett was because they thought that his ability was more situational.
Yeah, that
But
you
like,
wouldn't
man, a lot of
necessarily.
other people's abilities are situational. You're not always having the mana or the resource to shield Luke with Luke. You don't like I don't know. It was a kind of weak feeling excuse to me. But
Yeah, the -1 power isn't always beneficial on Jin. I guess is the point there. Like
yeah,
sometimes it changes a trade. When we played it last week, I played some Jin, and like we
you had
pointed
some
out,
good
like
trades and some
yeah,
bad ones that were didn't matter.
yeah, there's like sometimes it mattered and sometimes it just didn't. Like it's not that dependable.
Yeah.
It's
It's not
just
always gonna matter.
yeah, and but I don't know. I think like the bigger problem, at least with Boba, is I feel that with Boba, you have more agency in planning for it to work out, like in hoping that
Yeah,
you
because
know you
it's
keep
all on
low
your end.
cost. Yeah, where like
Well, mostly.
Jin is harder, actually harder to pull off than Boba. Like they're, I would think their deploy cost should be flipped because on the Jin side, like you have to hope like unit math adds up such that the -1 power does something. Like if you still end up just trading off units anyway, it doesn't necessarily help. I don't know. Sidetrack. Anyway, that's it's
I like Jin though.
yeah.
I think that she could do stuff well just because I feel like a few good trades and you're like really far ahead. And since she's the common leader, I definitely would pick her in limited. I feel like
Oh yeah.
that will probably be way more useful more often there. We'll
Yeah,
see.
for sure. Um, yeah, I could see in limited that Jin would be better, and Boba is probably tougher to pull off in limited because you can't
Yeah.
control, the curve cost of your deck quite as well. That it wouldn't, you might
Yep.
waste the resource anyway.
So maybe they
Um,
just play a lot of limited.
yeah, maybe. All right, moving on to the next card that was spoiled, Outmaneuver. It is a single cunning aspect event, costs 3. When you play it, you choose an arena, ground or space, obviously, and then exhaust each unit in that arena, yours and the opponent's. Texture, what do you think?
It's an interesting card. It helps in those situations where you just get overwhelmed and need an out for a turn, but like it's not buying you a whole lot of ground. I don't know that you're ever really playing this at 3 because on like the second round because you're likely dealing with one ship or one ground unit and then you're
Yeah,
not building anything on your board. So it's like it's definitely more late game play. It's probably a sideboard card for like I don't have a lot of ships in my deck and I need a way to deal with space, so let's just exhaust them all until I can deal with them more. Like I can see room for this in the maybe running double cunning and trying to go hard in one lane and between that and like the actual cunning card, you actually could have like one of these around for multiple rounds and maybe that's enough to push you through, but I don't know, things cost resources still and you don't have infinite of them, so you can only play so much cards that don't actually change the board state in the long run and expect to come out ahead. I just don't know the actual math, but it'll probably see play.
Yeah, what about you, Garrett?
I think it's good in a control deck. It's probably not one I'd play in like my Thrawn or Krennic that I've been running, just because it's just too slow for those. I think, but it's it's a card you'll see in control because, as we talked about earlier, control is all about getting to the last round, and this will help you get there. But it's not really going to help you do much else. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're spending resources to tap their stuff down. They're still
And
spending
yours.
resources to, yeah, and yours potentially. And there's your opponent doesn't have to, pay a tax, and they're still dropping more things. So it buys you time, but doesn't necessarily buy you advantage. So, like the use case where that is beneficial, I think are slim. Like in mid range, maybe like you said, if you're going past each other in different arenas, it might make sense. Maybe it makes sense in a control deck. I'm not sure if it has a home yet, really.
If we ever see Mill, I think it'll be good in a Mill deck
Yeah.
for
Praying that we
whatever
don't
Mill
ever
will
see.
look like in here.
Yeah. Next card, the Wilderness Fighter. It is a 3-cost single vigilance aspect unit, ground unit that is a 2-power, 4 HP, and shielded. Garrett, what do you think of the Wilderness Fighter?
I mean, it's fine. I think it's fine. It's going to be fine in limited. I don't think this makes the cut in most of my blue decks. But coming out as a 2/4 shield is nice. It just the 3 cost is a little iffy for that for me. And it's just a trooper. Like it doesn't have anything else on it. So unless we see more trooper stuff, then it probably isn't worth it till then, at least for me. But I think it's a great limited card. Like I see that coming out in limited, and it's hard to deal with.
Well, not only that, it's like the perfect body to throw any kind of upgrade on,
Yeah,
and you're not going to have as many options to deal with those in limited either. So, just like this is a dude you can count on being there and throwing a trench on him or something else that's cheap.
Mm.
Feel good about yourself.
I think he's Chewbacca's best friend.
Yeah, I would say like you play this.
yeah.
The only constructed you ever play this in is Chewie because he is the best value you can get at for that. It's the Cloud City Wingguard with a shield with Chewie.
Yeah, he
So
can block
for
2
basically,
things and before he dies in the
Yeah,
late
that's
game,
solid.
it's relevant. Yeah, I think the only problem with him and Chewie is like I wish there was like a space unit that was shielded like this that Chewie could play because then that would feel really great.
oh yeah,
Like he's got the ground covered. There's a lot of ground
yeah.
units that feel good to make Sentinels. There's not a lot of space stuff like we kind of mentioned earlier that feel good to make Sentinels. Throw in front of those A-wings and red 3s, as we'll talk about. Next card, the Partisan Insurgent. It is a 2-cost single aggression ground unit that has 1 power, 4 HP, is a rebel trooper, and then while you control another aggression unit, this unit gets raid 2. This seems really good. Taxter, I'll let you review the aggro card.
It's an aggro card. I don't know. I don't know if you play it outside of. Do you play it outside of mono red? I mean, that's the only thing. It's just not. It's not like it's not red. Red 3 that can be any heroism card. This one does have to be another aggression card. So like, if you're playing a mono aggression deck in hero, I think you're absolutely having this because it just works with everything and fighters for freedom kind of like synergy with that. I mean, ideally you drop this on the first round and you play fighters for freedom the second round and boom, you have 2, 3, 4s essentially attacking, which is just gross and pain to deal with. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it seems good. I don't actually know if it's like one of the most efficient things out there or not right now compared to what else we have for aggro for in hero, but maybe.
yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like a ground version of A-wing.
Yes, I mean it
But
is,
has a
but
condition.
you can actually deal with stuff on the ground a little bit easier too.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of Sabine aggro decks that still play this because I think if you look at the units that go in the Sabine aggro deck, like most of them are red, almost no matter what color
Yeah,
you put her with. Like I play Sabine in blue, and like the
the
restored arc,
blue
I
is your
think is the
events and
yeah. And
upgrades.
I guess there's a lot of he doesn't trigger off like the heroism only units either, so that's kind of
Correct. Yeah.
a negative. You can wing leader him, but the wing leader doesn't like give him his boost. So I don't know. I think we'll probably have more red units coming, so it probably will feel pretty strong.
I mean, I think I like it with Braggart. I think that's kind of an
Oh yeah,
interesting
Braggart's the
combo.
one cost one.
Yeah,
I mean, is Sabine playing Braggart right now too?
mine does.
Usually,
I think a lot of them. Yeah,
yeah,
Sabine usually does because it's so efficient.
because Braggart also has raid too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. But like it also just makes it so that you have to deal with one of them. Like you can't ignore them both. You have to deal with one of them.
Grand Inquisitor got another card. It's another card for that deck.
Oh, that's true. It's not actually heroism, so
Yeah, and it has raid and has a low
that's not
power, so it's
terrible.
a target. Yeah. He's got that and Braggart as like red units that can
His
take a
cheap
hit and stand
stuff
up.
that he can play out early. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the really super awesome card that we played last week, but we haven't talked about yet. Luke Skywalker, Big Daddy Luke, the
Oh
legendary.
yeah.
He's a 7 cost ground unit that is a vigilance heroism aspect. He's got 6 power. He's got 7 HP. He's got the Force. He's a Jedi. He's a rebel. He's got Restore 3 and a when played ability. You can give an enemy unit -3 for this phase. But if a friendly unit was defeated this phase, you give that enemy unit -6 for this phase instead. Straight up killing Star Destroyers left and right, is what we saw, at least when we played last week.
Yeah.
Garrett, break down Luke for us.
He's fantastic. Like he's worth 7. Like he is. I don't really have the words to describe it. He's really good. Like he's another rebel. He's a Force. Jedi doesn't do much for you yet, but I mean we all know it will eventually. But Force trigger stuff. He gets the rebel bump. Restore 3. Like you can't, and he just comes out and like he just kills something. Like you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yep, seems good.
I think he's better than Dooku. And Dooku's really good. He can't get takedown, and takedown is like, I don't know. Takedown is definitely quickly becoming the like de facto removal card. Everybody that runs blue is going to have 3 of those. They're like you can't not have takedown. Takedown is going to be a super common to see, assuming people are playing vigilance.
Yep.
But so he's immune to that. He doesn't kill himself, which for better or worse, you're not playing the mind games of a Dooku of like, am I going to die? To the enemy, you're not gonna like if you play your first Dooku and they play Dooku and you lose. And Luke also beats Dooku if something else died. Which if somebody Dooku'd you and you play Luke, you kill the Dooku. So I mean,
And he doesn't care about shields. Like
he has more attack. He has Restore 3, and the only thing he doesn't have the Dooku has is a shield. And I think that's fine. I think he's great. I don't think the Rebel keyword does a lot for him just based on the decks he's going in. That's like, I don't know. To me, Rebel doesn't feel as good as Imperial as a keyword just because Dodonna just feels like worse Veers, and I don't think I'm going to be playing him for the most part in decks that I'm playing this big Luke. Like the decks that I'm playing, the Rebel keyword synergy is more in
I mean Leia.
Leia.
But
But I don't know that I'm playing Luke in a Leia deck. Maybe there's a room for a blue-green Leia, but
it is very expensive in Leia. Or like, at least the ones I've built are usually kind of aggro to mid range in Leia.
I guess the biggest like thing that you're going to be able to get with him without a rebel is probably fleet lieutenant if you want to run that for some.
Yeah, he can be wing leader,
whatever.
And wing leader. It's the little things I guess that matter.
I don't know like with wing leader though if you need to put any more eggs in your Luke basket. If you have anything else to wing leader, like,
you shouldn't.
does he need +2/+2? No.
Based on the current ground stuff, becoming an 8 power thing doesn't necessarily give you a lot more.
Yeah.
For what's out there.
No, yeah. So yeah, we all agree. Luke is insane. He is a legendary. He's probably going to be a money legendary for the set.
Oh yeah,
up there with Boba and I don't know, maybe Falcon. But yeah, let's see. We already saw the Jedi lightsaber. We talked about that last week. The Battlefield Marine. This is one that they spoiled in their play. The other one, well, I guess Luke was from the game that they played on stream last week. But yeah, the Battlefield Marine. This is a 2-cost ground unit that is in command and heroism aspects. It's got 3 power and 3 HP and is rebel trooper, and it is vanilla, but it's still really good. Nick, tell me about
this is fantastic. I don't think there's anything like 2-drop wise that is as just straight up solid stats on the ground side to just like it doesn't really die to as much, and it can kill like most anything. I mean, there's like 1/4s where it's going to beat them out, but I mean, it's just a good body, and I think you're going to play that as your main 2-drop in any green heroism deck. It's kind of an interesting, like, I feel like this is the analog to the Shore Trooper that villainy has in at the 2 slot in green, where it's a 2/3. So this thing beats the Shore Trooper, but in the long game they trade evenly when it becomes a 4/3. So
Shore Trooper is way sexier though
and I mean that's true.
significantly.
than Tentacle
People
Face.
don't like tentacles aren't in yet, but
No. But he does have this guy has a harpoon on his back. I don't know who he's harpooning in battle, but
yeah, I don't even know where that battle's supposed to be.
Anyone he wants.
Anyone he wants to harpoon, he's ready. But yeah, no, it's pure value. Like, yeah, it is the Shore Trooper version in Hero, and I think you play it like I play Shore Trooper in every command villainy, and I will.
I
Play
mean, I thought Shore Trooper, when I saw it, I was like, this card's going to be great, and it ended up being like it is like great, and everyone plays Shore Trooper, so
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I didn't think that a 3/3 generic would be like my favorite reveal from last week, but it was. Like, it's just really good.
it was your favorite over Luke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
There's something wrong with you.
Play it even more than Luke.
Well, there will be games where you might not play Luke. Like,
you will play more of these than Luke, probably.
Yeah, you'll play this. You always play it.
The squid face ain't going.
This
anywhere.
guy's a common, so you will see
everywhere.
it in draft, and you'll be happy to have this in draft anytime.
This one won't cost me like $50, probably.
Right.
Yep.
If you want to get the all foil hyperspace Battlefield Marines for your deck, it'll cost you $50.
I doubt it.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know. The hyperspace, I don't know what the hyperspace and foil treatment will be, because you can supposedly get like both, where it's a foil hyperspace.
We also haven't seen any foil cards. I can't believe they're hiding those still from us. I just want to see one.
I wonder if they actually have them yet. I have a feeling they don't have them in hand.
They must not.
Or just like they have really early proofs and they like want to wait till they have like real ones.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things where like you could show a screenshot of it and it's not going to be the same.
No.
It's like
do a shimmer effect on a screenshot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Moving on. We did see the Echo base, generic base. We don't need to talk about it. It's a generic command base.
I
have a lot of thoughts about Echo base. Let me
have
start
a lot
with Wampas.
Go on. But next to that, we had another pretty exciting spoiler from earlier this week. We voted, like they decided for, we're done with the aspect months, and this month is going to be double aspect month, basically, where every week people are voting on remaining double aspect cards that we haven't seen, and everybody picked the Cunning one this week. Cunning one, much to the chagrin of many.
But we didn't get enough Cunning cards, so.
But the spoiler or the preview for this week was the Cantina Bouncer. It is a 5-cost ground unit with double Cunning. Like I said, they're all double this week. It's got 3 power. It's got 5 HP. It's a fringe trait. Then when played, you may return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. It's got Waylay built right in. Garrett, what do you think about the Cantina Bouncer?
I love it for my Thrawn. I mean, that's what it's going to go in. It's never something I would play in a non-mono deck, because 7 is just not.
I do feel like these mono cards are going to be like they're the reason why you went mono, so they better be playable. Essentially,
yeah, they gotta be good.
I expect all of these to be like fire. I expect you to play all of these. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to play double.
I think it's a good card for mono. Like you get like basically a 2-card swing, because you get a Waylay and you get a 3/5.
It takes away the issue that I have with Waylay. Is that like I did something, but I also don't feel like I gained as much as I'd want to, and it's just like, well, if you get 3/5 dude for it and a Waylay for 5, like that feels really good.
It's like it's getting a 3/5 for 2 costs essentially. Like that's solid.
No, I mean this thing's gonna be great if assuming that we can actually get some good viable double Cunning here.
Yeah, I mean, I think between Waylay, Cunning, and Cantina Bouncer, like you already have something that's going to like really punish mid-range and control decks, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's interesting to me. Like I'm just like imagining a future where I'm playing a cunning or a double cunning deck, and I'm just like resourcing expensive things because it's too risky to play them. Be like, oh, I have Luke, like face down, like he's no better than Vanquish, really, like in this deck. So let's put him down because if I play him, you got frustrated when I waylaid like Obi-Wan twice last week. Now imagine this yellow deck's like I can bounce that
Yeah.
Obi-Wan forever. Like I have more than
It's never
waylay.
gonna stay.
I can bounce him. He's still only 4 power. I think he can still be cunning. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And I mean that's what cunning as an aspect supposed to do, just kind of like piss people off, I feel like.
Yeah.
I guess and this kind of comes back to it. One of the things that's really just like for me is I just don't think double cunning. I'm not seeing how double cunning ever beats aggro. Like that's where I'm worried about aggro. It's just like something like double cunning. I just don't know how it has the chops to beat it because like all your main things are like maybe there's enough gas with sideboard in the end, but like all these like stall tactic things will work well against other stuff. But I just don't like.
Tough.
I just don't know.
I don't know. I think I'll be glad that, I think most of the player base will be glad that the double cutting deck is weak to something, because
Yes, I mean it's true. You don't want it to just like
Yeah.
take over everything.
It's
like I
got
have
it's gotta have a weakness.
I'm already like Nostradamusing the future that there's going to be like people making like complaint posts of I lost to this double yellow deck where literally I did nothing for 3 rounds. Like I played something, it went to my hand. I played something, it went to my hand. Played something, went to my hand, and then I lost. Didn't even get to play the game.
That's gonna be me. Like
Yeah,
I'm not making the post. I'll be the one playing the cunning deck.
you know I'm
And then
playing.
we'll see. I'll do that for like 9 turns, and then I'll lose to like Avenger or something. Will come down, and I can't deal with it. Like that's what'll happen.
It's running a gas at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is just like if it hopefully it doesn't run out of gas too, because otherwise then it still can't even take up with the big star destroyers.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I guess even in addition to aggro, like these bounce effects are also not as great against ambush and other things that have strong wind plate effects.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't feel that great to put Bosk back in their hand. They're like,
No.
okay, like he's coming right back out and hitting you again. We'll just keep going. Let's see. We already saw the Avenger, played it last week, talked about it. We'll go on to the late night spoilers from this week,
oh yeah,
starting with Academy Training. It is a 2-cost single command upgrade. Blank, no text, vanilla. It gives +2 power, +2 HP, and it can be played on any unit. Like there's no like restriction. It's not non-vehicle. Anything can get some Academy Training. Taxter, what do you think about the Academy Training?
I'm sure that there's probably a place for it if you need to be playing trying to make guys big and green. Like it's a good tool to have. I mean, like just a matter of like is upgrading things too risky or not? If it's not, I think this is fair enough value. Trying to think like I mean it's a little weird like it's like okay so when you compare it to like wing leader costs 1 more, gives you a 2/1 body and it's limited on where it can go, but like this is kind of like wing leader where like it's the same value, but like you also would have to like have a 1 drop to match the same value as a wing leader, so like it kind of feels a little worse than wing leader, but it's more versatile. Overall it's better than tactical advantage, I think, because it does the same thing for 1 resource more but stays forever. So
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I really like this. Like a lot of people are really cold on it. I have a feeling, but I feel like this is probably an aggro card more than anything. Probably not getting played in slower stuff. But people are like, oh, what if I make my Bright Hope +2/+2? That does sound pretty fun. But like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
to me, like
making your
I
big
can
taunts bigger.
right, yeah. To me, I compare it to like Surprise Strike, which is just +3 power,
It's
just for
slow
that reason.
surprise strike that
But
gets
but
more value after a
alas, yeah.
second
But I'm
round.
still getting like the 2 damage this round, hopefully. I think the number of cards that like can immediately punish you for a +2/+2 is fairly slim.
I think you
Like
play this in Leia, because then you like also like put it on Leia. I mean, you play this like I can see you playing this with.
Yeah, I mean, any
Like,
upgrades
I
on
don't think
leader is super
Sabine's
good.
necessarily going green as second aspect, but like Leia will. You play this on like putting this on Tarkin or Krennic in a command Krennic type thing, like making
I think you're
him
fine with that
just a
too.
bit
Yeah.
bigger. Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I mean, I'd entrench my Krennic if I needed to sometimes too, but
Yeah, I
If
mean,
if
I like it in Krennic because it makes your thing bigger and it makes it more likely to survive while being damaged,
yeah,
which is double bonus. So, like, and I think that's the thing with upgrades in this deck. At least a lot of the single ones. Like, if you can play it on something and then attack that thing into a unit and defeat it and live, you don't lose card advantage at that point if they trade a
yep.
second unit at some point into you and you lose you lost 2 cards for 2 cards. But if they can't do that, you've got this big monster unit that, well, in Krennic even has 3 more power to just start whacking base with like at
I
that point.
mean, the upgrades do feel better on leaders because they are just harder to like. You can't
Harder to
just kill the
remove.
leader, other than like you have to hit them to get them low enough to like nuke them with damage or a takedown. So like putting a big upgrade on them makes it harder to get them into takedown range,
Yeah.
etc. So,
Yeah, mostly
yeah,
you're afraid of waylay or like bouncer, and you're afraid of like vanquish. And I think most of the other stuff you're fine. You just play around, or it helps you get around it. You get around takedown. Open fire doesn't. It kind of gets around that. Open fire is not going to kill you extra hard or punish you for it. It's mostly like maybe if I'm playing yellow, like I resource these because like waylay is
and I
cunning.
wouldn't say upgrade hate is super common either right now. Like I feel like honestly, Bamboozle might be the one that you might see more played than anything at this point. If people are playing Yellow Hero, or I guess you could play it in Boba and just discard the card for it.
it
But
just feels bad to play this and then get waylaid. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
I don't know. I would put this on. I mean, you could even, we were talking about stuff to stop aggro. That's drop a sentinel down, cheap sentinel, and put academy training down, and like,
yep.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a solid card. I like it for 2. It's on curve with something with a 2. So it just makes something else. It makes something better.
Yep. Agree.
You have a 5/5 battlefield marine. Like that's fun.
Seems fine. No, I'm gonna curve in. I'm gonna curve in like wing leader on the battlefield marine, and then double academy train and
That's
super trained. Be like, this guy's a 9/9 hitting you
what
on
he's
round.
got the harpoon for.
So he's got the harpoon for. So trained. Moving on, the next card, the Ruthless Raider. This card was, I think, a lot more exciting for a lot of people, at least out of these 2 spoilers from late night. It's a 6 cost space unit in aggression villainy. It has 4 power, 6 HP. It's an Imperial vehicle, capital ship, and it has when played and when defeated. You can deal 2 damage to an enemy base and 2 damage to an enemy unit. Garrett, what do you think about the Ruthless Raider?
At 6, it's pretty expensive, but I also kind of like it because I like things that trigger on when played and defeated. Um, so I think I mean, that's 4 damage and 4 damage to a unit. If it's the same unit, but it can kind of clear some weenies out. Like, I think it's a solid card for I mean, being in space helps it, I think, a lot.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think you play those stats on the ground.
no.
That's
But like being
I
space, I
guess
think you
Obi-Wan could.
can. Well, sure. Like you can make use of it.
Yeah. What do you think, Tack?
I mean, it's so the big things to compare it to are Fetch Fire Spray and Gladiator. And it's better than Fetch Fire Spray if you're not playing it in Boba, but I don't see why you would ever play Fetch Fire Spray outside of Boba or Limited because it's not great otherwise.
No.
But I don't know. I just don't know where it goes. I don't know what deck you put this in. It's too big for an aggro deck, which wants the base damage to finish off. Like, it is kind of reach, but I mean, like, I guess you could play it on turn 6 for an aggro deck. But like, Sabine can win before that. Leia can win before that. Like, that might still be too late for it. So that's why it's just like it feels weird because it's just too expensive to me to feel like an aggro deck, and I don't know like where in the mid range deck you're really getting good value out of this. If I'm playing against aggro, I would much rather have the Gladiator because it's at least going to hopefully block multiple ship attacks and catch you back up. This doesn't, like, the 2 damage might kill something, it might not. It's not really catching you up. So I don't really know what you get out of the card. I mean, you can say all this card's good with Energy Conversion Lab and Piet, which, I mean, every 6-drop plus is good
But
with.
everyone says like energy conversion lab, and I'm like, everything's
It's
good with
once per game, and everything's good with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like it's a good play, and that might be the play that you're saving it for. That swings you back in the game, but I just don't know if it's ever better than the Gladiator Star Destroyer to me for the most part, unless you're just not playing green, I guess.
Yeah,
So.
I mean that's the red green counterplay. Like if you're in red green and you have your energy conversion lab and your opponent plays the Fet's Fire Spray or they play the Gladiator Star Destroyer, you can defeat the Fet's Fire Spray or Star Destroyer while still being alive.
Yeah,
Which
I mean,
isn't
I
bad.
could see you putting this in. I could see you putting this in red boba because it's just like another 6-drop in space. It's like your top end. It's like you're topping out. Like if you do green boba, you're playing Fire Spray and Gladiator. If you're playing red boba, you can now play Fire Spray and Raider, and that's probably fine.
I don't know. I feel like
just
in
don't know
anything
where
that
else.
doesn't have Piet or a way to give it ambush, it just feels slow. And that was kind of like when it came out, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, this feels like the lesser playable card. Like I see Academy Training fitting in all sorts of different decks and
I
doing
mean,
interesting
yeah. I mean,
things.
that's
Yeah.
you're also going to say that about anything cheaper is going to be more
It's
decks.
gonna be
Period.
better.
So
But yeah, this like if I'm not ambushing it, it feels real bad if my opponent's like, I got Fet's Fire Spray, and then you're like, yeah, I came in ready. Here's my Ruthless Raider, and I'll do 2 damage to your Fire Spray, and I'm exhausted. And they're like, well, I'll hit you to 6 to the face. And you're like,
I
well,
just
next round, I will get you.
for me, a lot of times at 6 costs, I'm looking for things that are going to help me catch up if I happen to fall behind, and I want my 6 drops to help me catch up in some way, which means some kind of effect in that round, and the effect of 2 damage to the base, probably not what I need for catch up, and 2 damage to a single unit might kill something. So like it might be able to, but
It's to me, it's a
I'm not
similar
sold.
situation to Black One, where it's like something's going to
Yeah.
use it well, but I don't know what that is yet,
Yeah,
and I
that's kind
don't
of where it's just like I
particularly
just
love
don't
it at
know
the
which deck
moment.
this is. And honestly, it depends on like how much value you can get from when defeated. Like, 4 damage to base is good, and we haven't seen a ton of like direct damage to base without attacking it cards. So I think it's just Fighters for Freedom. Is that the only other one?
Yeah, I think Ruthless Raider, like in future, like things that would make it interesting. If you had some way to like blow it up on command, so like I could like play it, then attack with it and blow it up for maybe some other benefit to like really push damage, then maybe that's interesting.
Yeah.
Conversion lab.
Um, yeah. Moving on to a very exciting aggro card, the red 3 Unstoppable. It's a 3
Is
cost.
it though?
It is. It's Unstoppable. It's right there in the name.
I
It's a
saw the movie.
3 cost space unit. Aggression, heroism, 2 power, 3 HP. It's a rebel vehicle fighter. It has raid 1 and an ongoing effect that each other friendly heroism unit also gains raid 1. Nick, tell me about this aggro card that you like.
Yeah, I don't like this card. This is scary. I mean, the only bad thing to me about this card is that it's unique, and you can't have 3 of them because that would be super busted. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's an A-wing for 1 more that makes literally everything that you're probably playing better. So
It's just straight up better than Dodonna, right? Like it
yeah,
feels
I mean,
that
the
Yeah.
way.
health on Dodonna is sometimes relevant, but it kind of like it's in space, so that's harder to like. It's in space when you're already trying to play like possibly other stuff in space in that color that are going to be just as problematic. So it's just like I don't know. I definitely would if I was playing Dodon, I'd pull that out because it's cheaper. Instead, like this is kind of doing more the Veers thing where it's like he comes out on 3 instead of 4. And it doesn't give you the health, but aggro doesn't super care about that. So
Right. I also like that it might make your opponent hesitate if they have like an open fire or like a takedown or even an interceptor, and you have like an A wing out, and do they use it on the A wing and
I
then
think you
have you
do
play red
still,
3 and then not have an answer?
because then you're not attacking. I mean, assuming like the way the turn orders and stuff go out,
I know.
if you have to, you kill the thing that can attack first, and then they have to play something in two, like then it doesn't get value for a few rounds. Like if you take out,
True.
if you play A wing into red 3 and they take down your A wing, it's not. That's actually not a terrible feeling for the person on the other side, because
I love
True.
Red 3. I think it's awesome.
This
you
is
know, I
great.
mean, it's strong.
It works in every Red Hero deck. Like, there's no reason not to put this in any Red Hero deck that you're playing.
Yeah, especially because it's not saying red cards like the other stuff
Yeah.
we've seen. Like with red, it's been
Just
more like
hero.
if you're in this color, stay with this color. This is like,
Your
nah, it's
R2
all
gets
hero
raid.
stuff. So
Your 3PO gets raid. Everybody
Yeah.
gets a raid.
Everybody gets raid. Interestingly enough, though, like the partisan insurgent is a rebel, but it's only mono aggression. And at least what Tyler was saying, like the partisan, like the Saw group, like they thought it was pretty thematic and cool to put it in mono aggression, and they won't get the benefit of red 3. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how much stuff
and
we
maybe
have
that's enough to not play stuff like that as much either.
along those lines. But yeah, or at least it's a choice. Like, do I play all hero stuff or do I want to go all rebel stuff? Because these other mono aggro cards are also rebels, but they just don't get
It
the
also
red
kind
three
of plays
points.
into whether you're going like this is kind of the opposite of Fighters for Freedom. Like, are you caring more about the hero symbol than the red symbol
Yeah.
in your deck?
I
Yeah,
like it.
Or
yeah.
It
Red
is
three
stoppable, though.
red 3 is more playable in a 2 aspect deck, or at least feels better there
Yeah,
because it
more
can affect
flexible.
things across
I
it.
just think it is stoppable. Like, I don't.
You just think it's stoppable.
Vader agrees. I've seen the movie. He stopped it.
It's an odd
It's happened.
subtitle.
It's unstoppable.
Wait. Actually, okay, let's think about this. He shoots it down, but it's still probably floating out in space even now. You know, a long time ago that happened, but it probably didn't run into a sun yet, so it's still probably floating. So it's technically
I
unstoppable.
guess that's technically correct.
Yeah, energy can't be destroyed. That's just physics, right?
Yeah, everything's unstoppable.
Let's talk about the improbability of hyperspace in Star Wars. Now, my first part of my thesis.
Pass. Last card that we have to talk about. This one was spoiler today from, I don't remember which. It was the Spanish group, like the
Mhm.
Spanish.
El
Yeah,
Valle del Jedi.
yeah, that one. Their whole video was subtitled, and I watched it. It was pretty cool the way they hyped it up and revealed it. But it is the Scout Bike Pursuer. It is a ground unit, 2 cost in Vigilance Villainy, 1 power, 4 HP, Imperial Trooper, just straight up has grit.
Kind of
Garrett,
surprised it's not a vehicle.
Because it's the
I
trooper.
know
It's
it's
not
the
the
trooper,
it's not
not
the
the
bike.
person on the bike.
So if
I
we got
like
a
it.
bike, if we got a bike unit, it would just be a picture of the bike with nobody in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krennic gets richer.
Krennic
Krennic card.
loves this card.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this
Like,
I
is
mean,
Krennic
exactly
anytime
what I was
any
thinking.
deck you're running with Death Trooper likes this card.
Yeah, Death Trooper. God, Death Trooper makes it
A
4
4
attack with Krennic if you
Yeah,
curve into it. Seems
it's
legit.
good.
that gives
It's
you a
good.
6 damage reach on round 2.
Yeah,
Seems fine.
I like the Pursuer a lot. It
I like the
instantly went
art.
into my Krennic deck.
I really like the art on this one too.
Yeah, the art is pretty
Just the
good.
background is like the way it does, like the blur effect really makes it pop.
That's a good one. Not quite as sexy as the Short Trooper, but
No, but
Good.
it's up there for me.
It does remind me of one of my favorite scenes from, I think it was season 1 or 2 of Mandalorian, where I think it was like the Navarro like Imperial base, and like they have that epic like chase them down with the scout bike troopers, and they all like come flying out of the hangar, and like 3 of them just like run into stuff and blow up before they even make it. It's classic. Should go YouTube that if you haven't and watch it. That's what I think. Except this guy's more just beefy. He's gonna beat stuff up, but I guess he gets
Yeah.
more fragile as he does it. So theme.
I mean, you throw any kind of like health buffs on him too. Like, I don't feel bad throwing an extra thing on him too.
Yeah, I mean, talk about academy training if you're running it with green.
Yep.
What you probably are with
3-6 with grit. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, you could really punish your opponent. Like grit is such a powerful keyword in how it can get out of hand, and we kind of saw that. Like, I think people underrate Chewy, and like that was the joke, at least from the stream that they talked about. Tyler was like, I feel like a lot of people are underrating Chewy, the leader, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And like we saw it, like I don't know how many people actually watched our stream from last week, but there was like literally a match where I was playing Krennic into Tack playing Chewy, and like once he flipped out Chewy, like I literally had like Krennic and like 2 other decently sized units on the ground, and I just was stopped when I couldn't attack. Because like if I attacked into Chewy, who's a 2/9, I couldn't kill him, but I just made him hit me way harder back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not going to happen every time. Like
No.
there's multiple like downsides. Like one, that's not going to happen every time, but like if it does, it can be extremely oppressive because it's like, oh, this is a big guardian guy that I can't remove with any of like other like removal stuff easily. You can put a bunch of beef sticks on him, make him even stronger.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
then I mean, I think the big thing other people don't like about him too is that he comes out at 7, and it is just kind of like, well, you just might not live long enough, and he doesn't have. If you're going blue green with him, which at least gives you resupplies, you still don't really have good space units. You have arcs and maybe system patrol craft now, but
Yeah.
true. Bright hopes.
and Bright Hope, you do a Bright Hope. That's true.
You were hitting me with home
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I mean, home one is your finisher for sure. That does feel good.
But yeah, my main point, at least tying it back to Chewy, was just grit as a keyword. How it gets crazy really fast, or it can be like hugely game changing really fast. Like if the math doesn't line up, like even with Scout Bike Pursuer, having a 4 attack ready to go round 2, and then like you said, you go into friggin' like academy training or something, and you make 6 attack. Like your Krennic might not be an aggro deck, but like you could literally get into a position where you're like, I'm beating you down harder than like I'm beating you down at aggro speeds because of grit.
Yeah.
And is grit only in vigilance right now? Have we seen any of it outside of that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, just Chewy and him. And
it's like raid seems to be mostly aggression. I know we have like there's the one fighter, the yellow fighter.
Spreadsheet.
Oh, and the rugged survivor. So yeah, all 3 grit unit things are blue. It's the Scout Bike Pursuer, the rugged survivors, and the Chewbacca leader. That's it. It's the only grit we have.
I mean, this thing's also common. That's nice too.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a little bit awkward in decks that don't have like a way to either get him pumped with like self damage for some reason, or stuff like Krennic. Like I don't know if like you're running against a regular 2/3, he still just trades with it eventually, or they can just ignore your 1/4 and then you're only doing 1, and then you attacking them first, and they can be like, all right, now I'm gonna trade. I think the grit on him, he's way better with something that can actually push his grit to like be proactively used.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it would be the point. Like, I don't know. I'm probably still taking it in draft, but like I'm just saying it might not be as cool in draft if you don't have like some death troopers.
Hey, Krennic's a common leader. You can
Or
get him a
Krennic,
draft.
yeah. Like some of those things. And I imagine we're gonna get more things like that care about damage on units because of Krennic, but maybe, if there's other stuff that you can kind of combo it to like put damage on units or cares about damage on your units, even better. Anywho, that's all the spoilers that we have. We're a little over an hour now. So final thoughts, anything coming up, anything I forgot to mention that you guys want to bring up?
I started playing Jedi Survivor.
Oh, nice.
It's very good.
And so far,
I've just been playing stupid amounts of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm
Fair.
way deep on that game now. Took a while to get into it, but like once you're into it, you're like way into it. And that's where
that's what I've heard.
I'll agree with that.
I'm like 60 hours in. I don't even think I'm halfway done with it.
Jeez.
And I'm already thinking about I want to start a new playthrough after I'm done. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.